Hello and welcome. My name is Faz. I'm the president of DX3 and I welcome you to DX3 Pulse. DX3 Pulse is our regular and timely insights that are shared by biggest and brightest names in the industry focused on the retail and marketing industry. Today, we have a very unique business, and I'm really, really excited to talk to them. It's not every day that I have an opportunity to have a conversation with someone so vastly experienced and operating such a unique business. So, let me welcome Michael Marks. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, how are you doing? Nice to be here. Thank you.
I'm all right. So let me give you guys a little bit of background about Michael. Michael has several decades of experience in business and government intelligence, including the White House. On the business side, he focused on providing open source intelligence using innovative proprietary techniques and approaches to help a broad range of commercial clients, including retailers, manufacturers, improve sales, marketing, and avoid risk. One key area is analyzing large data streams of customer information to better understand them and target future promotions and other programs to attract customer back. Michael manages operations that focus on competitive intelligence, technology scouting, forecasting, and predictive analysis, sentiment and perception analysis, and disruptive issues and awareness and analysis. That's a handful, Michael.
Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. Yeah, it's a lot of areas, but yeah, we work in all those areas, and we've done it successfully for many years.
So, Michael, you are part of Intel Edge, which is basically, to a degree, data analytics, but intelligence gathering business. So, tell us a little bit more about Intel Edge, what it does,
Right.
and how did it come about?
Yeah. So Intel Edge is it's a joint venture between Constructive Edge, which is based in Canada, and Decision Partners, which I'm the managing partner of, which is based here in the United States. And the goal is essentially to utilize our combined expertise to provide I would say market related consultative services backed by our leading edge open source intelligence to commercial and other clients. And I've been working with the folks in Constructive Edge for over 20 years. And so we're very excited about this partnership.
So, I mean, how has that partnership been and come together, and how has been sort of the reception in the market? Like, what's the market feedback to you guys coming together?
Right, right. Well, so far so good, right? And although, as I mentioned just a moment ago, that we've been working together for, over 20 years, Intel Edge itself is a relatively new endeavor. The outlook I think is very promising with, successful projects under our belt and growing interest in what we provide.
Fantastic. So Intel Edge is coming to DX3, and we
Yeah,
absolutely thrilled to have you guys, and very happy in trying to get you guys the support we can. But I wanted
right.
to understand a little bit better. I mean, retail is a major area of focus. What are the segments or sectors that you are operating in?
Right, right, right. Yes, I mean that's obviously a focus, but I would say that we support all sectors of the economy. Historically, we've done that, and of course, and we do work in the government as well. But in doing so, as you mentioned in your nice introduction, the areas that we focus from a functional standpoint across these various economic sectors would be sentiment and perception analysis. In other words, concerning companies, products and technologies, and we do this instead of what people might use traditional surveys and focus groups for, and we do this on social media platforms, which is an area that we specialize. And we think this is a very important thing to do because what often happens in focus groups and surveys is that people can give the answer that they think, the questioner wants to hear, or they can just decide that they want to be a contrarian, give the wrong answer. So that's a very powerful thing, and we that's one of the areas. We do forecasting and predictive analysis. In other words, for example, what's a competitor company likely to do, and how's your product, going to do in the future, for example, like that. Competitive analysis, what types of products are they developed? How are they perceived in the marketplace vis-a-vis what you're doing? Um, you know, their cost effectiveness versus what you're doing, all those types of things. We also do a lot of work in what I call technology intelligence. And this really started out with work that we did for the government here in the United States, finding technologies that they couldn't find with, believe it or not, with all the vast resources that they had. And here, we're often looking at, how does your technology and a product, stack up vis-a-vis the competitors? What are the competitors working on? What's coming out that you may not be, aware of? Are there any black swan surprises, right? Those types of things. So that's important, technology intelligence. We also do what I would call messaging and counter messaging. And this takes place on social media platforms, both in the open and in invitation only groups. And it's a very powerful thing to be able to get your message out there where people are talking in an unfiltered and unfettered manner. Get your message out there about your products, your sale, marketing efforts, whatever it is you want to talk about there, and test it. See how it's resonating, and then get the feedback, that you're looking for, to see how things are going. And we can do this in very, down to, neighborhood levels, geolocated, and that's, to very, very refined and very granular levels to do this. We also get involved in issue management. How is, again, this relates to how the company is perceived, how the market is perceived. If something, God forbid, goes wrong, in a company or a product, or something bad happens, you want to get your message out there, right? You want to counter, negative messaging and things like that. And then I would say the final sort of functional area that we focus on is disruptive issue and risk analysis, including things like supply chain and security. As I mentioned earlier, are there any black swan events that you're not aware of in terms of competitor product development coming up, that sort of thing. So those are sort of the areas we focus on, and all of what I just said, can really help retail and product manufacturers improve their sales, their marketing, and I think avoid risk.
I mean, that's quite a wide array of things and like
Yeah,
areas that you're active in. That's a very vast universe. I mean,
yeah,
my sort of perception is that you must have sort of get loads of data that you try to
mm,
analyze and work with. So I mean, what are the tools or technologies that you guys use to in order to sort of go through all of that and find that sort of golden nugget?
right. So we've developed a number of proprietary technologies and methodologies that we use in combination with really, solid trade craft by our research analysts, that really enables us to be very, very cost effective and time efficient for our clients. And one of our key underlining technologies that we've developed is something called the keyword signature. And the keyword signature allows us to use over 10,000 search terms in over 40 languages on, when we're looking for things on the surface web, on social media platforms, on the deep web, which is very difficult to access, but we do, and even if necessary, on the dark web. So that's the keyword signature. Excuse me, is a great example of how we do that, and but we've also done other things. I mean, we have a lot of capabilities that we've developed, but another example would be that we have, for example, in-house neural networks that we've built that can be trained to recognize and compare and data. So that's how we do it. But what we do really is we combine unique technologies and methodologies that we develop with tradecraft and human, research analysts in the loop. And that's, we think, a big differentiator for us.
I mean, to be able to sort of have the capacity to do 10,000 word, I mean, that is like, is that something like was developed in house, or is that sort of like, would you talk a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah. So, all right. Well, yeah, that's a good question because, like I said, it's one of the key methodologies that underlies a lot of the work that we do. And yes, it was completely developed by us. It's completely proprietary,
Crazy.
uh, and we've been using this for many years successfully. And so, for an example, when you say, well, how does it work? Basically, I mean, think of if you were going to do a Google search or a Bing search or Yahoo search, right? They all use the same algorithm, right? And they're
Yep.
all limited to basically 32 word, 32 search terms, right? And generally speaking in English, right? Well, our capability, as I said, allows us to have over 10,000 search terms in a single search. We've and not only in English, but as I said, upwards of 40 languages. So what this, and we do this across, as I said, all the information platforms. Okay, and this allows us to be. Oh, let me just go back for a second. And so, what do these 10,000 search terms include? Right? They can be words, phrases, names, jargon, syntax. You name it. Okay, and so this allows us to be very expansive, right? Because it includes all the possible terms, as well as being very refined because it includes all the various, all the possible terms. And what we end up doing is when we work on a project, we'll put together what we would, sort of typify as a draft keyword signature, right? Let's say it's got 787 search terms in it, right? I'm just making this up, but let's
Yeah,
say
yeah,
it
sure.
does. And then let's say, Fazza, you're the client. I'll come to you and I'll say, look, here's our keyword signature. It's got 787 terms in it, and I said, take a look at it and see if there's anything missing or that you think we should add. And you'll say, oh, you know what? There's this crazy person, Michael Marks, I know. You should put his name into the keyword signature. And great, then we're off and running.
So, I mean, is it like, are you able to share any examples of things that you've done within the retail sector? I'm asking that obviously because most of our audience is from that segment. So I wanted to make sort of try to understand that what are the kind of things you can or have done in the past for the retail clients?
Right, right, right. So let's see here. Some of the areas for, I mean, off the top of my head, I would say, let's see, for retail, like we've done work, for example, for grocery retailers and restaurant chains, home electronic chains, where where we analyzed, you know, large data streams of customer information to really, I'd say, better understand them and target future promotions and other programs to attract their customers back. That would be an example in, a retail operation. But we've also, for example, done work in the consumer packaged goods area where we looked at basically food and here's an example where we worked on the food and beverage product as well as the the machine that sort of distributed it to the consumer. And there, for example, we analyzed social media postings to determine sentiment about the product and the manufacturer. And again, this was done instead of traditional focus groups and surveys, which and it turned out to be very enlightening, to the manufacturer. In other areas, for example, in retail and manufacturing, we've worked in the solar energy business where we've worked for solar energy manufacturers, and we've looked at we've worked for just-in-time consumer product manufacturers. We've worked for medical device manufacturers where all these people are trying to take their products to market and try to understand their competitors. And we've been able to not only provide all these folks with the intelligence that they need to make really better decisions and avoid risk, but we've also been able to try to provide them sort of the strategy that goes around that. And that's really what we'll be doing, with constructive edge. We'll provide the intel, and then they'll be able to provide sort of the consultative strategy and that sort of thing that goes along with it. We've also done work for retailers and product manufacturers, related to supply chain issues. We've been able to analyze competitor alliances and supply chain issues, regarding manufacturing capabilities, in some cases, regulatory issues, geopolitical issues, and natural disasters, overseas that could impact the ability, to get this stuff on the shelves, right? Yeah, those are some examples.
Fantastic. I mean, you mentioned in terms of the sort of perception and sentiment around things, and you're right. Like, people could just lie in surveys and focus groups and stuff, or at least not really share their true opinion. So I
Exactly.
mean, how does that your methodology or the use of the technology that you have, how does that sort of count? I mean, I'm assuming there is still focus group and surveys that go out, and that element isn't completely sort of
Right.
removed. So how does that balance, and then how do you really understand what is the sentiment?
Right. So we don't tell people you should fire your guys that do focus groups and surveys, or go ahead and do them and if you want to do those, and certainly if you're doing that, the work that we do in sentiment and perception analysis on social media can certainly inform those focus groups and surveys. But basically, as I think I alluded to before, is we are on social media platforms. Okay, we spend a lot of time on social media platforms, and when I talk about social media platforms, I'm talking about what we would typify as social media 2.0, which would be everything that you hear about today, like Facebook, what was Twitter now is called X, Instagram, that sort of thing, right? We're, as I said, people are talking in a very unfiltered and unfettered manner. But we're not limited to that, and we also look at what we call social media 1.0 platforms, which are all those old, chat rooms and forums and things like that, where a lot of people that do any kind of research at all on social media, they basically overlook these things, and that is a terrible mistake. Okay, because these things are active, alive, and well. All right, and we get a lot of information from that. And then finally, we also look at what we call social media 3.0, which is all these new and emerging platforms that a lot of people aren't aware of. But again, they're very fertile grounds for information. So we're on these platforms. We're in the open domain on the platforms, but we also get involved in invitation only groups where people are even talking in a more um, unfiltered manner. And when you're involved in these groups, you become like a trusted peer, and you can really gain some insight. And then finally, as I've mentioned before, we're operating in over 40 different languages. In fact, we're involved in a project right now where I can't tell you the details about it because all of our work is confidential, but I can
Yep.
tell you that we have been asked, for example, to get into the to work with these invitation only groups, get involved with them, and work in Chinese, excuse me, Chinese, Spanish, Russian, and Polish languages. So, you know, this gives us a tremendous advantage to really see what people are saying. What's resonating, what's the feedback about your product, your technology, your how you treat your customers, all these types of things that focus groups and surveys just they can't do.
Yep, fair enough. I mean, there are a number of companies in that space, and also in terms of sort of data analytics on the social media and stuff. I mean, that is far more competitive space than just sort of the intelligence element of it. So, what is it that makes you guys so unique?
Well, I think in that space, it's the ability to get, impart to, excuse me, the ability in part to get into these invitation only groups, and we have people in our team that are experts on messaging and counter messaging. I mean, what we are not is a shrink wrap product. Okay, we are, as I said, we're technologies, methodologies, tradecraft, and very, very senior analysts and subject matter experts. And that really gives us a capability that others do. I'll just give you another quick example.
Yep.
It's not related to retail per se, but it's germane. We just finished a project where the client, their research organization, had spent 2 years trying to gain access to a group and couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. We did it in like about 2 days. So we're able to do these sorts of things.
That's that's very impressive. So, I
Yeah.
mean, what is the sort of the size of business that you look for? Because obviously, not everyone can work for
Well,
you, with you or afford you, or even
right.
would have the need to do that. So, what is
Right.
the kind of size, or what is sort of the uh, problems that people or businesses are facing? That if they're facing those problems, they should contact you guys.
Right. 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 Well, I would say that, remember, I said our keyword signature enables to be very cost effective and time efficient. So we really work with all sizes of companies. I mean, from the very, very small to, the very large. I mean, for example, we've done a lot of work over the years with defense contractors. They're very large, right? We've done a lot of work with, financial institutions. We've done work for the government. We've done work across all these sectors, but we've also worked for very tiny companies, that they have limited budgets, but we're able to help them.
Well, Michael, that's fantastic. That was really, really interesting. I said, I mean, I'm just very interested in that field, and then I find it very sort of intriguing to learn more about sort of the technology and the methodology and the service that you guys
Yeah.
provide. So I want to take this moment to thank you and thank IntelEdge for coming to DX3 and for
Thank
supporting
you.
us. And I look forward sort of meeting you guys in person on April 9th and 10th.
Yeah,
So
we're
thank
gonna.
you very much for your time today.
Thank you. We're gonna be there, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Me too.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
For the latest updates, subscribe to our channels linked below. You can also visit us at dx3canada.com. It will help you keep updated with our content and engage with us and interact